The massive alien ship appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like a dark mountain floating in space. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ship was black with silver lines running across its surface, and it had weapons that could be seen even from far away. Captain Jinwoo stood on the bridge of the space station New Seoul, watching the alien ship through the large window. He had been in space for 10 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The ship was so big that it blocked out the stars behind it. "Sir, we're getting a message from the alien ship," said Lieutenant Park, who was sitting at the communication desk. His voice was shaking a little. "Put it on the main screen," Jinwoo said. He tried to keep his voice calm, but his heart was beating fast. The screen flickered, and then an alien face appeared. The creature had blue skin and 4 eyes. It wore something that looked like a military uniform, but it was made of materials that seemed to glow. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said. Its voice was deep and seemed to come from everywhere, at once. "I am Ambassador Veltar of the Hegemony Coalition. We represent the Galactic Federation of Civilized Worlds." Jinwoo stepped forward. "This is Captain Jinwoo of the Earth Defense Force. We welcome you to our solar system." The alien's 4 eyes blinked one after another. "We have been watching your species for some time. You have reached the level where you can travel between stars. This means you may be ready to join the galactic community." "That sounds wonderful," Jinwoo said, though something in the alien's tone made him worried. "However," Veltar continued, "membership in the Federation requires proof of worthiness. You must show that your species can contribute to galactic peace and security. You must prove your military strength." The alien's image changed, showing a smaller ship next to the massive one that had arrived. Even the smaller ship was huge compared to human vessels. "This is our patrol vessel, the Thunder of Justice. It is what we consider a minor military ship. Your entire fleet must engage it in combat exercises. If you perform adequately, we will consider your application for Federation membership. If you fail, your world will remain isolated until you develop further." The screen went dark. Jinwoo stared at the empty screen for a long moment. Around him, the bridge crew was silent. "Get me Admiral Hyemin immediately," Jinwoo said. Within an hour, every important military leader on Earth was in an emergency meeting. Admiral Hyemin sat at the head of the long table in the underground command center beneath New Seoul. She was a small woman, but everyone in the room respected her. She had fought in the resource wars and had never lost a battle. "The situation is clear," Hyemin said, looking at the data on her tablet. "They want our entire fleet to fight their patrol ship. Our intelligence says we have about 300 ships that could be considered military vessels. Their one ship is larger than our entire fleet combined." General Wu Jin, who commanded the Mars Defense Fleet, shook his head. "Their weapons are beyond anything we understand. Our best scientists have been studying their ship for hours, and they say the energy readings don't make sense. One of their weapon systems could probably destroy a city." "So what do we do?" asked Commander Subin, who led the Europa mining fleet. "Do we surrender before we even try?" "No," said a voice from the back of the room. Everyone turned to look at Captain Do-hyun. He was younger than most of the other officers, but he commanded the most advanced ship in the human fleet. "We don't surrender." Do-hyun walked to the front of the room. "They want to see our military strength. They expect us to send hundreds of ships because that's how they think. More ships mean more strength. But what if we think differently?" "What are you suggesting?" Hyemin asked. "I'm suggesting we send one ship. My ship. The Taeguk." The room erupted, in noise. Everyone started talking at once. Some people laughed. Others looked angry. "That's suicide," General Wu Jin said. "Your ship is good, but it's still just one small vessel against something that could destroy planets." Do-hyun smiled. "Maybe, but think about what that would tell them about humans. Every other species probably sends their biggest fleet when they're scared. What would it mean if we sent our smallest force?" Hyemin held up her hand for quiet. "Explain your thinking, Captain." "The Taeguk isn't just any ship," Do-hyun said. "It's been built with every piece of technology we've developed. It's fast, it's adaptable, and it has the best crew in the fleet. More importantly, it represents something about humans that aliens might not understand. Which is, Yemen asked, that we don't give up. Ever. When humans have nothing left, when everything looks impossible, that's when we fight the hardest. If I take the Taeguk out there alone, I'm not just representing our military. I'm representing every human who ever faced impossible odds and refused to quit. The room was quiet again. Yemin studied Do-hyun's face. Your crew would have to volunteer for this. I won't order anyone on a mission like this. They've already volunteered, Do-hyun said. I asked them before I came here, Minji, Kyung-soo, Nari, and Taehoon. They all said yes without hesitation. Admiral, Yemen stood up slowly. Captain Do-hyun, are you really willing to take one ship against something that could destroy our entire fleet? Yes, ma'am. Why? Do-hyun thought for a moment. Because sometimes the best way to show strength isn't to bring everything you have. Sometimes it's to show that you only need what you believe in. 3 hours later, the Taeguk undocked from New Seoul Station. It was a sleek ship, smaller than most military vessels but built with the most advanced technology humans had. As it moved away from Earth, every person on the planet watched. The alien ships waited in the distance. The massive mothership and the smaller patrol vessel that was still enormous compared to the Taeguk. On the alien ship's crew members watched their sensors in confusion. Only one ship? Ambassador Veltar asked his captain. Are you certain? Yes, sir. Our sensors show only one human vessel approaching. It's very small. Veltar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. In all his years of conducting these tests, no species had ever sent just one ship. They always sent everything they had, hoping that numbers might make up for technological differences. What are these humans thinking? He wondered aloud. On the Taeguk, Captain Do-hyun sat in his command chair, watching the alien ships grow larger on the screen. His crew worked quietly around him, preparing for something that everyone said was impossible. Captain, said Taehoon from the communications station, Earth Command is asking if we want to reconsider. They're offering to send the whole fleet. Do-hyun smiled. Tell them we appreciate the offer, but 5 humans are enough for this job. The Taeguk continued toward the alien ships, alone in the vast darkness of space. Behind them, Earth watched and waited. Ahead of them, an alien civilization tried to understand what it meant that the humans had sent only one ship. Neither side knew that this single decision would change how the galaxy thought about humanity forever. The Taeguk looked like a tiny silver needle next to the massive alien patrol ship. Captain Zulmax of the Thunder of Justice watched the human vessel approach on his main screen. He had 4 arms, green skin, and had been fighting space battles for 30 years. He had never seen anything quite like this. Captain, said his weapons officer, the human ship is less than 1% of our size. Our main guns could destroy it with a single shot. Zulmax nodded, but something bothered him. In 30 years of testing new species, they always sent everything they had. Ships would arrive in formations of hundreds, sometimes thousands. They would spread out, try to surround his ship, attempt to overwhelm him with numbers. It never worked, but at least it made sense. Why would they send only one ship? He asked his second officer. Perhaps they don't understand the test? She replied. Or perhaps this is all they have. No, Zulmax said, studying the data. Our intelligence reports say they have hundreds of ships. They chose to send only this one. On the Taeguk, the crew prepared for battle. Pilot Minji sat at her controls, running her hands over the flight systems she had helped design. She had been flying since she was 16, and she knew this ship better than anyone alive. All systems green, she reported to Captain Do-hyun. The quantum drive is running perfectly, and our new maneuvering thrusters are ready. Engineer Kyung-soo worked at his station, making final adjustments to their power systems. Captain, I've got our adaptive shielding online. It won't stop their big guns, but it might help us survive long enough to show them what we can do. Weapons specialist Nari checked her instruments. The Taeguk didn't have the massive energy cannons that the alien ship carried. Instead, It had weapons that humans had designed based on completely different ideas about how space combat should work. "Weapons ready," Nari said. "Our missile systems are loaded with the new adaptive warheads. Our particle beams are charged and ready. I have to warn you though, Captain. Everything we're carrying was designed to fight human ships. We don't know how effective they'll be against alien technology." Communications Officer Tae-hoon monitored the channels. "Captain, I'm receiving a message from the alien ship. They're asking if we're ready to begin the exercise." Do-hyun looked around at his crew. These were people he had served with for 3 years. They had trained together, fought simulator battles together, and trusted each other completely. "Tell them we're ready." The alien ship powered up its weapons. Even at a distance, the Taeguk's sensors could detect the massive energy building in the alien weapon systems. The Thunder of Justice had weapons designed to disable attacking fleets without destroying them completely. The Federation wanted to test species, not exterminate them. "Beginning combat exercise," came the alien voice over the communications system. The first alien weapon fired. It was a blue beam of energy that could have cut a human battleship in half. The beam moved at nearly the speed of light, guided by computers that could predict exactly where the Taeguk would be. But the Taeguk wasn't where the computers predicted it would be. At the last second, Minji fired the ship's maneuvering thrusters, in a pattern that made no sense to the alien computers. The ship twisted sideways, spun upward, and dove down all at the same time. The movement should have torn the ship apart, but Kyung-soo had reinforced the hull in ways that weren't in any textbook. The blue beam missed by less than 50 meters. "Impossible," said the alien weapons officer. "Our targeting computers are perfect. They have never missed a target that size." "Fire again," Captain Zulmax ordered. The second shot fired. This time, 2 beams came from different angles, designed to catch the human ship no matter which way it dodged. Minji saw the beams coming and did something that the alien computers couldn't understand. Instead of dodging away from the beams, she flew directly toward them. At the last second, she spun the ship so that it passed between the 2 beams, using the exact space where the aliens thought no ship could survive. On the alien ship, alarms began to sound. Their computers were having trouble understanding what the human ship was doing. Every time they calculated where it should be, it was somewhere else instead. "How are they moving like that?" Zulmax demanded. His science officer checked the readings. "Captain, their ship appears to be ignoring several basic principles of physics. The movements they're making should destroy their vessel, but somehow they're holding together." What the aliens didn't understand was that human ships weren't designed like alien ships. Alien vessels were built for efficiency and standardization. Every part had a specific purpose, and everything worked according to established rules. Human ships were built for survival. Every system could be modified, redirected, or used in ways that the original designers never intended. Kyung-soo had spent years learning how to make ships do things they weren't supposed to do, because humans had learned that following the rules could get you killed. "Their turn," Do-hyun said calmly. Nari targeted the alien ship and fired their first missile. It was much smaller than the weapons the aliens were using, and it moved much more slowly. The alien defense systems should have destroyed it easily. But as the missile approached the alien ship, it began to change. The warhead split into smaller pieces, each one taking a different path. Some pieces flew straight ahead, others curved, around, and others seemed to disappear completely. The alien defense systems tried to target all the pieces, but there were too many of them moving in too many different directions. Several pieces got through and struck the alien ship's shields. The explosions were small, but they did something the aliens had never seen before. Instead of trying to overpower the shields, the human weapons seemed to study them. Each explosion sent out scanning beams that analyzed the shield energy and transmitted the data back to the Taeguk. "What was that?" Captain Zulmax asked. "Unknown, sir," his science officer replied. "The explosions were too small to damage us, but they appear to have been gathering information about our defensive systems." On the Taeguk, Nari smiled as she studied the data from her missiles. "Captain, I now know exactly how their shields work. The next shots will be much more effective." The battle continued. The alien ship fired again and again, using weapons that could destroy moons. Each time, Minji found a way to avoid them. Sometimes she flew the ship through maneuvers that made the crew feel sick. Other times she used pieces of space debris as shields, or she flew so close to the alien ship that their big guns couldn't target her. Kyung-soo rerouted power from life support to engines, from engines to weapons, from weapons to shields. He made the ship's systems work together in ways that no alien engineer would have thought possible. When the artificial gravity failed, the crew kept working. When the lights went out, they used emergency illumination. When the air recycling system overloaded, they worked in spacesuits. Each time the humans adapted, the aliens became more confused. Their ship was more powerful, their weapons were more advanced, and their technology was superior in every measurable way, but somehow the tiny human ship kept fighting. "Captain," the alien science officer said, "I'm beginning to think we don't understand how humans approach warfare." Zulmax watched the human ship dodge another shot that should have destroyed it. "What do you mean?" "Every species we've tested tries to win through superior firepower or superior numbers. They try to be stronger than us, faster than us, or tougher than us. But the humans aren't trying to be superior. They're trying to be unpredictable." On the Taeguk, Captain Do-yun watched his crew work. They were tired, they were scared, and their ship was taking damage. But none of them had given up. None of them had even suggested retreating. "Status report," he said. "Hull integrity at 70%, Kyung-soo reported. "Power systems are stable, but I'm having to reroute everything manually." "Weapons are functioning," Nari said. "I think I figured out how to get through their shields, but I'll need to get closer." "How much closer?" Do-yun asked. Nari looked at her instruments. "Close enough that if I miss, they'll be able to hit us with their point defense systems." Minji turned around in her pilot's seat. "Captain, I can get us that close, but once we're there, we won't be able to run away." Do-yun nodded. "Then we'd better not miss." The Taeguk accelerated toward the massive alien ship, moving faster than it had ever moved before. On the alien vessel, Captain Zulmax watched in amazement as the tiny human ship flew directly toward his most powerful weapons. "Are they surrendering?" his second officer asked. "No," Zulmax said quietly. "I don't think humans know how to surrender." The Taeguk drifted in the darkness of space, its hull cracked and its systems failing. Inside the ship, emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls as the 5 crew members worked to keep their vessel alive. They had fought the alien patrol, ship to a standstill, but victory had come at a terrible cost. Engineer Kyung-soo looked at his control panels with growing concern. "Captain, we're losing hull integrity on decks 2 and 3. The power surge from our final attack damaged more systems than I thought." Captain Do-yun studied the damage reports on his screen. "How long do we have?" "Maybe an hour before life support fails completely," Kyung-soo said. "But that's not our biggest problem." "What is?" Kyung-soo pointed to his power display. "The quantum drive is destabilizing. When I overloaded the generators, it created a feedback loop. If it gets worse, the drive will explode." "How big of an explosion?" Pilot Minji asked from her station. "Big enough to destroy both ships," Kyung-soo said quietly. Communications Officer Tae-hoon looked up from his instruments. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the alien mothership. They want to talk." "Put them through," Do-hyun said. The main screen flickered to life, showing Ambassador Veltar's 4-eyed face. The alien looked confused and maybe a little worried. "Captain Do-hyun," Veltar said, "our sensors indicate that your ship is in serious danger. We are prepared to rescue your crew before your vessel is destroyed." Do-hyun looked around at his crew. They were tired, dirty, and scared, but none of them looked ready to give up. "That's very kind of you, Ambassador, but we're not ready to abandon ship yet." "Captain," Veltar said, "our instruments show that your quantum drive is about to explode. If you don't evacuate immediately, your entire crew will die." "Maybe," Do-hyun said, "but maybe we can fix it." Veltar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Captain, our best engineers have studied quantum drive failures for centuries. What you're describing cannot be repaired. It can only be contained until the crew evacuates." Weapons specialist Nari turned in her chair. "Captain, even if we could, Fix the drive, we don't have enough power to get home. Our generators are dead and we used up all our backup power cells in the fight. So what you're saying is that we're stuck here with a ship that's about to explode. And even if we stop it from exploding, we'll still die slowly when our life support runs out. That's about right, Nari said. Do-hyun smiled. Good. That means we have nothing left to lose. The crew stared at their captain. Most people would have started planning their surrender. But these were humans, and humans had a different relationship with impossible situations. Kyung-soo, Do-hyun said. What would happen if we used the quantum drive explosion as a power source instead of trying to prevent it? The engineer blinked. Captain, that's insane. The explosion would destroy the ship. What if we controlled the explosion? What if we used the quantum field collapse to create a space-time distortion that we could ride home? Kyung-soo thought, for a moment. Theoretically, if we could contain the explosion in a magnetic bottle and direct the energy through the ship's hull, we might be able to create a localized warp field. But the timing would have to be perfect. If we're off by even a few milliseconds, the ship would be torn apart. How perfect? Minji asked. Perfect enough that no sane person would ever try it, Kyung-soo said. Good thing we're not sane, Tae-hoon said with a grin. On the alien mothership, Veltar watched the human ship with growing amazement. His sensors showed that the humans were actually moving around their damaged vessel, working on something. Any other species would have evacuated by now. What are they doing? He asked his science officer. Unknown, sir. They appear to be modifying their quantum drive, but the changes they're making don't match any known engineering practices. Are they trying to repair it? No, sir. If anything, they seem to be making it more unstable. Veltar studied the readings. Contact them again. On the Taeguk, Tae-hoon looked up. Captain, the aliens are calling again. Put them through. Veltar's face appeared on the screen. Captain Do-hyun, what are you doing to your ship? We're going home, Do-hyun said simply. Captain, our sensors show that you're making your quantum drive even more unstable. In approximately 15 minutes, it will explode with enough force to destroy both our ships. 14 minutes and 30 seconds, Kyung-soo corrected from his station. You're going to kill yourselves, Veltar said. Maybe, Do-hyun admitted. But if this works, we'll be home in time for dinner. The alien ambassador was quiet for a moment. Captain, I have been conducting these tests for 50 years. I have never seen a species choose almost certain death over possible rescue. That's because you've never tested humans before, Do-hyun said. What makes humans different? Do-hyun thought about the question. Every other species you've tested probably thinks logically. They weigh the odds, calculate the risks, and choose the option most likely to keep them alive. Humans don't work that way. How do humans work? We decide what we want to accomplish and then we refuse to let anything stop us, even death. The communication ended. On the alien ship, Veltar turned to his crew. Move us to a safe distance. I want to see what these humans do. On the Taeguk, the crew worked frantically to modify their failing quantum drive. Kyung-soo rerouted power cables in ways that violated every safety protocol ever written. Minji programmed flight patterns that existed only in the few seconds between the quantum field collapse and the complete destruction of the ship. Nari turned their weapon systems into additional magnetic containment fields. Tae-hoon used the Baedir communications array to create an interference pattern that might help control the explosion. 5 minutes, Kyung-soo announced. Is everyone ready? Do-hyun asked. Around the bridge, his crew nodded. They had spent the last hour turning their ship into something that was part spacecraft and part controlled bomb. If their calculations were right, they would surf the explosion home. If they were wrong, they would die in the most spectacular fashion possible. 4 minutes. Captain Do-hyun opened a communication channel to Earth. New Soul Control, this is the Taeguk. We're coming home. Taeguk, this is Admiral Hyamin. Our sensors show your ship is critically damaged. Do you need assistance? Negative. Control. We're fine. We might be coming in a little fast, so have the docking bay clear. How fast, Captain? Do-hyun looked at Minji's calculations. About half the speed of light. There was a long pause from Earth. Captain, did you say half the speed of light? Give or take, Do-hyun said. We're using a new propulsion system. 3 minutes, Kyung-soo called out. The alien ships had moved to what they considered a safe distance. Through their sensors, they watched the human vessel prepare for something that their computers insisted was impossible. 2 minutes. Inside the Taeguk, the quantum drive began to whine with a sound like the universe screaming. Energy readings climbed past every safety limit. The ship's hull began to vibrate as space-time itself started to bend around them. 1 minute. Everyone hang on, Minji said, her hands dancing across the flight controls. This is going to be rough. 30 seconds. Do-hyun looked around at his crew one last time. These were people who had chosen to face impossible odds rather than give up. They were about to prove that sometimes the craziest plan was the only one that worked. 10 seconds, Kyung-soo said. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The quantum drive exploded, but instead of destroying the ship, the explosion was caught and channeled by the magnetic fields the crew had created. Space-time folded around the Taeguk like a giant hand, and the little ship disappeared in a flash of light. On the alien ships, sensors went wild as the fabric of reality twisted where the human vessel had been. When the readings cleared, the Taeguk was gone. Where did they go? Veltar demanded. Unknown, sir. They appear to have left. Left how? That explosion should have destroyed them. Sir, the science officer said quietly, I think the humans just invented a new form of faster-than-light travel using an exploding quantum drive. Veltar was silent for a long moment. That's impossible. Yes, sir. But they did it anyway. 3 days after the battle, the Taeguk limped into Earth orbit. The ship was held together by emergency repairs and stubborn determination. Half its systems were dead, its hull was cracked in dozens of places, and it smelled like burning electronics and recycled air. But it was home, and its crew was alive. Captain Do-hyun sat in the medical bay of New Seoul Station, getting his broken ribs treated by a doctor who kept shaking her head in amazement. Through the window, he could see Earth turning slowly below them. It looked exactly the same as when they had left, but somehow everything felt different. Admiral Hyman entered the medical bay with a serious expression on her face. Captain, we need to talk. Good news or bad news? Do-hyun asked. I'm not sure yet. The aliens want to negotiate. An hour later, Do-hyun and his crew sat in the main conference room aboard New Seoul Station. Despite their injuries and exhaustion, all 5 of them had insisted on attending the meeting. Through the large screen at one end of the room, Ambassador Veltar looked at them with his 4 eyes. Captain Do-hyun, the alien said, I must begin by saying that in 50 years of conducting these tests, I have never seen anything like what your crew accomplished. Thank you, Do-hyun said. Though I'm not sure if you mean that as a compliment. I mean it as a statement of fact, Veltar replied. You did something that our computers insist was impossible. You turned a catastrophic quantum drive failure into a faster-than-light propulsion system. Engineer Kyung-soo shifted uncomfortably in his chair. To be honest, Ambassador, we're not entirely sure how we did it either. The mathematics worked out on paper, but actually doing it was, well, it was mostly luck. No, Veltar said firmly. It was not luck. We have analyzed every second of your battle and your escape. What you accomplished required precise timing, innovative thinking, and absolute trust between crew members. Those are not products of luck. Admiral Hyman leaned forward. What does this mean for Earth's application to join the Galactic Federation? Veltar was quiet for a moment. That is what I need to discuss with you. When we designed this test, we expected your species to send your entire fleet. We planned for a battle where hundreds of human ships would attack our patrol vessel. We have conducted this test with 47 different species, and that is always how it works. But we only sent 1 ship, Pilot Minji said. Yes, and that changes everything. The alien ambassador turned to someone off-screen, spoke in his own language for a moment, then turned back. Captain Do-hyun, may I ask you a question? Of course. Why did you volunteer for this mission? You knew it was almost certainly suicide. You knew your ship was vastly outmatched. Why didn't you wait for reinforcements or ask for better equipment? Do-hyun, thought about the question. Because someone had to go and we were ready. That's all? That's everything, Do-hyun said. When humans see something that needs to be done, we do it. We don't wait for perfect conditions or overwhelming advantages. We just do what needs to be done. Veltar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. During the battle, you had multiple opportunities to retreat. Your ship was damaged, your crew was in danger, and continuing to fight served no strategic purpose. Why didn't you withdraw? This time, Communications Officer Tae-hoon answered. Because retreating wasn't an option. Why not? Because we're human, Weapons Specialist Nari said simply. Humans don't retreat when something important is at stake. Veltar studied them for a long moment. I see. And what was at stake in this battle? Earth's future, Do-hyun said. The future of our entire species. That's worth fighting for, even if the odds are impossible. The alien ambassador nodded slowly. Captain, do you understand what you have taught the Galactic Federation? I'm not sure. For centuries, we have tested new species by overwhelming them with superior force. We believed that military strength was the most important quality for Federation membership. We measured a species' worth by how many ships they could field, how powerful their weapons were, how advanced their technology was. Veltar paused, looking at each human in turn. But you showed us something we had never considered. You showed us that sometimes the greatest strength comes from sending fewer ships, not more. You proved that determination and creativity can be more powerful than overwhelming force. Admiral Hyeman frowned. What does that mean for our application? It means that the test is over, and humanity has passed. But not in the way we expected. Another alien appeared on the screen next to Veltar. This one was taller, with silver skin and 6 arms. I am High Commander Zurat of the Federation Council. Captain Do-hyun, your actions have caused quite a debate among our leadership. What kind of debate? Do-hyun asked. The debate about whether we should be asking you to join us or whether we should be asking to join you. The humans looked at each other in confusion. I don't understand, Hyeman said. Zurat explained. For thousands of years, the Galactic Federation has maintained peace through superior firepower. When conflicts arise, we send massive fleets to overwhelm our enemies. It has been effective, but it has also been predictable. And predictable is bad? Kyung-soo asked. Predictable means that our enemies can plan against us, Zurat said. Recently, we have faced opponents who know exactly how we fight, and they have developed strategies to counter our overwhelming force tactics. Veltar nodded. What you did in your battle against our patrol ship was completely unpredictable. You fought in ways that our computers couldn't anticipate. You used strategies that no other species has ever tried. You want us to teach you how to fight like humans? Nari asked. We want to learn how to think like humans, Zurat said. We want to understand how you can look at an impossible situation and find a way to succeed anyway. Do-hyun laughed. Hi, Commander. I'm not sure. That's something we can teach. Being human isn't about following a set of rules or tactics. It's about refusing to accept that anything is truly impossible. Even when all logic says you should give up? Especially then, Minji said. Humans are at their best when everything looks hopeless. Veltar looked thoughtful. Captain, what would humanity want in exchange for sharing this knowledge with the Federation? Admiral Hyeman smiled. Full membership in the Galactic Federation, with voting rights and access to all Federation technology and trade networks. Done, Zurat said immediately. Just like that? Hyeman asked, surprised. Captain Do-hyun and his crew just solved a problem that has been troubling the Federation for years, Zurat explained. They showed us that sometimes the best solution is not to send everything you have, but to send exactly what you need. Tae-hoon leaned back in his chair. So we're officially part of the galactic community now? You are, Veltar confirmed. But I suspect that very soon, the galactic community will be learning to be more like you. 6 months later, Captain Do-hyun stood on the bridge of the new Federation vessel Harmony. It was a ship designed using human principles, smaller than traditional Federation vessels but more adaptable and unpredictable. The crew was mixed, with humans working alongside aliens who were learning to think in new ways. "Captain," said his alien second officer, a blue-skinned engineer named Colset, "we're receiving a distress call from the Outer Rim. A Federation colony is under attack by raiders." "How many enemy ships?" Do-hyun asked. "Approximately 50, sir. They're using overwhelming force tactics against the colony's defenses." Do-hyun smiled. "And how many ships do we have?" "Just us, sir." "Perfect. That's exactly what we need." As the Harmony jumped to faster-than-light speed, Do-hyun thought about the day that had changed everything. The day that humanity sent just one ship and taught the galaxy what it really meant to be strong. Not because they had the biggest fleet or the most powerful weapons, but because they had something no other species possessed: the absolute refusal to accept that anything was impossible. In the distance, 50 raider ships waited to learn what that meant. They wouldn't like the lesson, but they would never forget it, because they were about to discover what happened when you threatened something that humans were willing to protect. They were about to learn that sometimes one ship really was enough. The Taeguk flew straight toward the massive alien ship like a bullet heading for a mountain. Inside the small human vessel, red emergency lights flashed as systems overloaded and alarms rang constantly. But the 5 crew members worked with calm precision, as if flying into certain death was just another day at the office. Engineer Kyung-soo's hands moved across his control panels faster than most people could see. He was doing things to the ship's power systems that the instruction manuals said were impossible. "Captain, I'm redirecting power from life support to the main engines. We'll have about 10 minutes of air, but we'll have enough power to punch through their defense grid." "Do it," Captain Do-hyun said without hesitation. On the alien ship Thunder of Justice, Captain Zulmax watched the human vessel approach. His 4 eyes tracked the small ship as it weaved between the defensive fire from his point defense weapons. "How are they still alive?" he muttered. "Sir," his weapons officer said, "they're flying through our defensive fire like they know exactly where each shot will be." "That's impossible. Our weapons fire in random patterns specifically to prevent that kind of prediction." But the weapons officer was right. Pilot Minji wasn't predicting where the alien weapons would fire. Instead, she was watching how they fired. After 20 minutes of combat, she had learned to read the tiny electrical changes in the alien ship's hull that happened just before each weapon discharged. She was flying by instinct, dodging shots that hadn't been fired yet. "Distance to target 2,000 meters, Minji announced. At this range, both ships could hit each other easily. There was nowhere to hide. Weapons specialist Nari charged her final attack. She had been studying the alien shields throughout the battle, and she finally understood how they worked. The aliens used a rotating shield system that changed frequency every few seconds to prevent exactly what she was planning to do. "I need 30 seconds where they can't hit us," Nari said. "30 seconds?" Minji asked. "At this range? That's impossible." "Since when has impossible ever stopped us?" Do-hyun asked. Minji smiled and fired the maneuvering thrusters. The Taeguk began to spin end over end while still flying forward. To the alien gunners, it looked like the human ship was tumbling out of control. But Minji was doing it on purpose, making the ship's trajectory impossible to predict. The alien weapons fired, but their targeting computers couldn't lock onto a ship that was spinning in 3 directions at once. Shot after shot missed the wildly spinning human vessel. 20 seconds, Nari said, working frantically at her weapons controls. Kyung-soo watched his power readings climb into the red zone. "Captain, if I give weapons any more power, the generators will explode." "How big of an explosion?" Do-hyun asked. "Big enough to take out half the ship. Do it anyway." Kyung-soo stared at his captain for a moment, then pushed the power systems past every safety limit. The ship's generators began to whine with a sound that made everyone's teeth ache. "Power transfer complete. You have everything I can give you." 10 seconds, Nari said. The alien ship's shields rotated through their defensive frequencies, cycling from one energy pattern to another. But Nari had been watching, learning, calculating. She knew exactly when the shields would be vulnerable. 5 seconds. Communications Officer Tai-Hoon suddenly looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm picking up massive power readings from their main weapons. They're charging something big." Through the spinning view from the cockpit, they could see energy building around the alien ship's largest gun. It was a weapon designed to destroy entire fleets, and it was pointing directly at them. 2 seconds, Nari said. "Fire," Do-Yun ordered. Nari launched everything the Teguk had. Missiles, energy beams, and kinetic projectiles all fired at the same instant. But these weren't normal attacks. Every weapon was timed to hit the alien shields at the exact moment when they would be vulnerable. The alien ship's rotating shields shifted to their weakest frequency just as the human weapons arrived. For a brief moment, the massive vessel was unprotected. The human weapons weren't powerful enough to destroy the alien ship, but they didn't need to be. Nari had targeted specific systems, sensors, communications, and weapon power conduits. The explosions were small, but they hit exactly the right places. On the thunder of justice, lights went out and computers failed. The massive weapon that had been charging to destroy the Teguk suddenly powered down as its energy conduits were severed. "Damage report," Captain Zulmax shouted. "Sir, we've lost main sensors, long-range communications, and primary weapons control," his engineering officer reported. "The damage is minimal, but it's been placed with surgical precision. They hit every critical system while avoiding anything that would kill the crew." Zulmax stared at his screens. In 30 years of combat, no enemy had ever targeted his ship like that. Most species tried to destroy their opponents outright. The humans had chosen to disable rather than kill. "They could have targeted our life support," his second officer said quietly. "They could have tried to destroy the ship. Instead, they chose to stop us from fighting without hurting anyone." On the Teguk, the crew watched as the massive alien ship drifted silently. Its weapons were offline, its shields were down, and its communications were dead. "Should we destroy them, Captain?" Nari asked. Do-Hyun shook his head. "No. This was a test, not a war. We've proven our point." Kyung-Soo looked at his power readings. "Captain, our generators are about to explode. I need to shut down main power in the next 60 seconds or we're all going to die." "Do it," Do-Hyun said. The Teguk's engines went silent. The ship drifted. In space, its power systems offline, its weapons empty. But its crew was alive, and they had accomplished something that everyone said was impossible. On the alien mothership Sovereign's Pride, Ambassador Veltar watched the battle's end with all four eyes wide. His species had conducted these tests for hundreds of years. They had seen brave species and cowardly ones, clever species and stupid ones. But they had never seen anything like what the humans had just done. "Ambassador," his aide said, "the human ship has gone silent. Both vessels appear to be disabled." "Who won?" Veltar asked. The aide hesitated. "That's difficult to determine, sir. Technically, both ships are unable to continue fighting. But the human ship disabled our patrol vessel, while sustaining less damage themselves." Veltar studied the tactical display. "How many ships did we expect the humans to send?" "Based on their planetary defenses, we estimated they would send between 200 and 300 vessels. And they sent one." "Yes, sir." "One ship fought our patrol vessel to a standstill." "Yes, sir." Veltar was quiet for a long moment. "What does that tell us about the other 299 ships they didn't send?" His aide had no answer for that question. On Earth, every communication screen showed the same image. 2 ships drifting in space, both silent, both damaged. The tiny human vessel and the massive alien patrol ship, locked in what could only be called a draw. Admiral Hyemin sat in her command center, watching the tactical display. "Status of the Teguk? Life support is stable, but they're running on emergency power only," her aide reported. "Captain Do-Hyun reports that his crew is uninjured but unable to continue fighting." "And the alien ship?" "Dead in space. No weapons, no communications, no shields. But their life support appears to be functioning." Hyemin nodded slowly. "So we didn't destroy them, but we stopped them from fighting." "Yes, ma'am." "That's very human of us," Hyemin said with a small smile. "We never did like to kill when we could just win instead." In space, The two ships drifted in silence. On one, an alien crew tried to understand how a species they had never heard of had fought them to a standstill with a single vessel. On the other, 5 humans sat in the dark, breathing recycled air, and wondered if they had just started a war or prevented one. Neither crew knew that this moment would be remembered as the day the galaxy learned what it truly meant to be human. It wasn't about having the biggest ships or the most powerful weapons. It was about refusing to quit, even when quitting was the only logical choice. The test was over, but the real lesson was just beginning.